Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss about features of planning. In the previous video we had already discussed concept, meaning as well as process of planning. Starting with the features of planning, the first feature we are going to discuss today is pervasive. Pervasive means required at all levels in all types of organization at all times. Planning is required in government organization, planning is required in a school, planning is required in particularly a business, small business, large business, companies, everywhere. And planning is also required at all levels. So top level does maximum planning and middle level does comparatively less and lower level does planning to its own for its own operational people, that is the workers. Middle level does it for the departmental heads. The departmental heads do it for their own departments and the top level does it for the complete organization. So we say planning is not an exclusive function. It is not to be done only by one person. It is to be done by the complete organization. Yes, the plans vary as per the objectives, but it has to be done. So we talk about pervasiveness. Planning is required at all levels in all departments. All departments means out here production, finance, HR, marketing and sales. It is not an exclusive function. Not only top management does it, all the other levels also perform function of planning. Scope of planning differs at all levels, of course, yes. Top level does maximum planning like it does for the whole organization. Middle level does for departmental planning and lower level does operational planning. If you remember in the previous video, we talked about the different types of planning like tactical, operational and departmental. So same thing comes out here, long term, short term and as well as for day-to-day operation. So that's why planning is pervasive, the first point. Second point, planning is continuous. Yes. Why planning is continuous? Planning is first function of management. So we start with planning, we go to organizing, staffing, directing, controlling, and once we control, we go back to planning again. So we frame a plan, we implement it, and once that gets over, we check it and then reframe. That's why planning is called a continuous function. Plans are prepared for specific time period, like I told you with the concept also. Planning should be done in a time frame. Let's take an example. For how many years would you like to study in 12th standard? 1 year only. Okay, why? Because of the time frame. So you plan accordingly. If you can always try something like that you want to get 100% marks in plus 2. So 1 year you will study only one subject, and for 5 years you will study continuously for 5 years, one subject each, and then after 5 years you will give your exam. Nobody is going to accept. CBSE doesn't accept after 2 years of continuous giving exams. The third time they don't accept it. Okay, and you also feel awkward that for 5 years you've been doing the same class. So there's a time frame for everything. That is why we have annual time frame. We have financial year and the calendar year. There's a time frame for everything. So you make plans according to that time frame. Now, so plans are prepared for specific time period. At the end of that period, new plan is drawn. So you make that new plan. So once you clear your plus 2, you go for BCom. Once you clear your BCom or whatever the graduation course you're doing, once you graduate, then you go for the next year, and after that you go for masters, and then you go for internship, and then you go for a job. So you're drawing plans every year. Those are yearly plans. For every day also you draw a different plan on the basis of new requirements and future conditions. So accordingly you plan yourself. Hence planning is a continuous process. Continuity of planning is done how? Through a planning cycle. And what does planning cycle talk about? Plan is framed, it is implemented, and after implementation of plan you replan, and when you're replanning you're going back to planning again, right? So planning is continuous. Second point. Okay, third point, planning is futuristic. What do we mean by futuristic and why we call planning is futuristic? If you remember, when we talked about functions of planning, we said one word meaning for planning is futuristic. You never plan for past, you always plan for future. When you plan for future, what you do is you try to analyze it. You go into the depth of the situation and then you try to predict it. Why you make such kind of predictions? Because you want to overcome the uncertainties. So you draw the plan, you analyze it, you understand it, and then accordingly you act upon it. That is why planning is called futuristic. So if you have to go for so after lockdown, what are you planning? You're planning to go out somewhere, or you're planning like we were sitting at home at the time of lockdown, we'll continue sitting like that. No, you're planning for future. Let's come to it. Planning is futuristic. Planning involves looking ahead, preparing for the future. Purpose of planning is to meet future requirements. Undoubtedly, it means peeping into future, analyzing it. Analyzing means going into the depth of it, predicting it, that what we are going to do. Throughout forecasting future, now what you do is when you forecast, what do? You try to talk about future events and conditions, that what is best for you next. These are actually anticipated and plans are made accordingly. So you anticipate in advance what you're going to do and then you make your 100% sure plans. They may not come out as you had thought about it. There may be some changes, but still you draw those plans. Next, planning is mental exercise. Now what do we mean by mental exercise? पागलों की exercise है. सारे पागल लोग प्लान करते हैं रियलिटी में. Those who are mad, they plan the best. No, it's not that. See, when you talk about mental exercise, that means you are putting efforts into planning. How are you putting efforts into planning? Say, planning requires application of mind. दिमाग चाहिए. Those people who are actually going into the depth, who are synthesizing everything, who are analyzing every situation, and who are preparing themselves for future. That means they are intellectual a lot, right? So it involves forecasting and intelligence, imagination, sound judgment, like I told you. So when you are intelligent or you have intelligence, when you have sound judgment, when you imagine things, when you schedule yourself, you're being more planned, and you are using mental exercise. It is thinking before doing, like you do for the futuristic, being futuristic. Planning requires logical, systematic thinking rather than guesswork. काश ऐसा हो जाए. काश कभी भी ऐसा नहीं होता है. You have to pen it down somewhere. It is based on facts and forecast. Yes, everything is based on facts and forecast. All data is there. You have to use that data in the most perfect manner. Next, planning is primary function. First function है planning. पता है हमें पॉस्को, प्लानिंग, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग, स्टाफिंग, डायरेक्टिंग, कंट्रोलिंग किससे शुरू करते हैं? प्लानिंग. बेसिक मैनेजरियल फंक्शन है. सारे फंक्शन इसके ऊपर बेस्ड होते हैं. जब प्लानिंग करते हैं उसके बाद ही बाकी चीज़ें पॉसिबल हो सकती है. एक बार प्लानिंग कर दी, जब हम कंट्रोलिंग में पहुंचते हैं फिर से हमें क्या करना पड़ता है? प्लानिंग करनी पड़ती है. एग्जैक्टली. सो इट्स अ प्राइमरी फंक्शन. बिना प्लानिंग के कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता. Planning lays down the base for other functions. Yes, it lays down the base for other function. All the functions are performed within the framework of plans drawn. भाई जो प्लान बनाओगे उसी पे तो ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे, उसी पे तो डायरेक्ट करेंगे, उसी पे तो लोगों को स्टाफ करेंगे, उसी को तो कंट्रोल करेंगे और फिर उसी को नेक्स्ट रीप्लान करेंगे. अगर कोई गलतियां होंगी चेक करेंगे, वेरीफाई करेंगे. प्लानिंग. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस इज प्लानिंग प्रीसीड्स ऑल अदर फंक्शंस. सबसे पहले क्या आती है? प्लानिंग आती है. इसमें प्रीसीड्स की स्पेलिंग ठीक नहीं दिख रही है. दिस इज कॉल्ड प्रीमिसी ऑफ प्लानिंग. प्रीमिसी ऑफ प्लानिंग का मतलब क्या है? फर्स्ट फंक्शन. सो ऑल फंक्शंस आर इंटररिलेटेड, देयरफॉर प्लानिंग प्रोवाइड्स बेसिस फॉर फंक्शन. बाकी सारे फंक्शंस बाद में आते हैं, प्लानिंग सबसे पहले आता है. इसलिए प्लानिंग क्या प्रोवाइड करता है? बेस. फिर ऑर्गेनाइजिंग, स्टाफिंग, डायरेक्टिंग, कंट्रोलिंग सारा कुछ होता है. नेक्स्ट वी कम टू प्लानिंग involves decision making. Of course, yes. When we did the concept of planning, we said there are alternatives. Those alternatives are there. You have to identify the alternatives. Then what you have to do is you have to see the pros and cons. You have to use permutations and combination and decide and select one best alternative. तो आपने क्या करा? Decide and select. Planning involves decision making. बहुत सारे alternatives available होते हैं. जब आप decide करके best one choose करते हैं, that means you're deciding what is right for you. Planning involves choice among various alternatives. वही वाली बात आ गई. If there is only one possible goal, there is no need to plan as there is no choice. Yes, काम करने का एक ही तरीका है, एक ही काम करना है. चॉइस नहीं है तो उसी की तरफ मूव करना है. Many times you make a plan that you want to go to Delhi University. Delhi University के लिए 98% मार्क्स की ज़रूरत होती है. 98 to 99% मार्क्स आफ्टर योर +2. और आप उसी को अपना टारगेट बना लेते हैं और उसी के ऊपर वर्क करते हैं और उसी के ऊपर सोचते रहते हैं. समटाइम्स यू अचीव इट, समटाइम्स यू डोंट अचीव इट. व्हेन यू डोंट अचीव इट, यू आर लॉस्ट. यू डू नॉट नो वेयर टू गो. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. दैट्स व्हाई द वेरी फर्स्ट लेक्चर आई टोल्ड यू, यू नीड टू हैव प्लान ए, प्लान बी, प्लान सी. ऑल प्लान्स आर रिक्वायर्ड. सो नीड फॉर प्लानिंग अराइजेज व्हेन ऑल्टरनेटिव्स आर अवेलेबल. प्लानिंग का मतलब ही यही है कि ऑल्टरनेटिव होना ज़रूरी है और उन ऑल्टरनेटिव पे काम करना ज़रूरी है. It involves examination, evaluation of each alternative and choosing best one. Examine करना, उसकी in depth study करना. Okay, so examination का मतलब मैंने यहाँ पर क्या कहा? Study करना. इवैल्यूएशन का मतलब क्या, आपने यहाँ पर उसके पॉजिटिव और नेगेटिव देखे और आपने सिलेक्ट कर लिया एक बेस्ट ऑल्टरनेटिव. दिस इज व्हाट इज नोन एज डिसीजन मेकिंग. Last point, planning focuses on achieving objectives. Yes, why? Because organizations have their own goals and objectives. And if you have your objectives and goals, that means you have to reach towards the objective. Now you have to make plans because that objective is far off. It is futuristic in approach. So if your end results are clear, you know where you want to strive. It's easier to plan and you need to plan. So if you have some predetermined objectives, you have some predetermined a desired position where you want to reach, you need to plan. As simple as that, right? So organizations are set up with general purpose, specific goals are set out in plans. Yes, after plus 2 what do you want to do? If you're ready with that, that means you have to just work hard and achieve that objective. So you have to plan for that. That working hard is part of planning, scheduling yourself. Thus planning is purposeful, 100%. Why? Planning becomes meaningless, if you are trying to achieve predetermined objectives and planning is not solving your purpose, planning is meaningless. So planning becomes meaningless if it does not contribute to achieving objectives. कौन से objectives? जो predetermined थे, यानी आपने पहले से सोचे हुए थे. उन objectives को achieve करने के लिए अगर planning help नहीं करती तो planning कुछ भी नहीं कर रही. So we've just finished off with features of planning. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 features. Alright, next we are doing is importance of planning. What exactly do we mean by importance? Importance is essential need for any particular function or any particular concept. So starting with importance of planning, the first point is planning establishes standards for controlling. Planning means what? One word, futuristic. Controlling means what? Controlling means to monitor or to check. So when we talk about planning and controlling, planning is the first function and we say controlling comes as a last function, and then after planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling, we come back to planning again. Now how planning establishes a standard for control? If there is no planning, what would you control? If there are no targets or there are no set objectives, what would you control? So when you plan, when you set a task, when you give a standard task and you evaluate yourself as per that, that is why planning provides basis for controlling. Let's read. Planning involves setting of goals. Of course, these goals are our targets which we want to achieve. The entire process is concerned with accomplishing predetermined goals through POSCO. So I just told you, planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling. Planning provides standard task. Standard task क्या हो गया? हमारा plan हो गया. हमने जो सोचा था ये हमारा target हो गया. Same thing. Actual performance is seen. Actual performance क्या है? जो हमने काम किया, work done, जो भी. Suppose मैंने आपसे कहा 100 units बनानी है. आपने 100 यूनिट्स मैन्युफैक्चर करनी थी, आपने कितनी बनाई? आपने 80 यूनिट्स बनाई. अब क्या है, हम इन दोनों को कंपेयर करते हैं. सो हम क्या करते हैं कि इसमें से 80 में से अगर 100 माइनस करें तो हमारे को कितने की एफिशिएंसी आ गई? -20 की. ये क्या हो गई? हमारी मिस्टेक्स हो गई. हम क्या फाइंड करते हैं? ये मिस्टेक्स यानी डेविएशंस. डेविएशंस के क्या फाइंड करते हैं? कॉजेज. देन वी टेक द राइट एक्शन. सो प्लानिंग इज प्री रिक्विजिट फॉर controlling. First step, basis. It provides basis for controlling. So without planning, controlling is not possible. That is what it talks about. Planning establishes standard for controlling. Let's we start with the second point, that is planning facilitates decision making. Now, how does planning help in decision making? See, first of all, when you plan, you're thinking about future. You're thinking in advance what is to be done. One. So when you think in advance what is to be done, you have to have some kind of alternatives, because if you don't have an alternative and if you make just one plan, then you don't have any choice and you cannot weigh the pros and cons and you cannot select the best one. So what you need to do first is you have to just think of alternatives. Like after plus 2, if you decide that you want to take admissions in Delhi University, for that you have to get 98% marks. Suppose you don't get 98%, what to do next? So better make plan. First, talk about 98% marks, Delhi University. Second, talk about entrance exams for various due colleges or other places in Mumbai, Narsing Munji, Christ. Third, take foreign university as another alternative. Now, whatever you score, according to that, you weigh the pros and cons and evaluate everything and choose the best one. The moment you select, you're taking a decision. Similarly, in an organization, when manager plans, he creates alternatives and he evaluates each alternative and takes a right decision. Planning becomes the basis for decision making. Planning helps managers to look into future and helps to make choice from various alternatives available and course of action. So whatever the course of actions are available, you have to make the choice from that. The best is selected, so you choose the best one. This helps in setting targets, future conditions become better, and it leads to good or rational decision making. Next point is planning provides direction. How does planning provides direction? It provides direction once you are ready with your goals, once you're ready with your objectives, what you want to achieve, and you're moving in the same particular direction. And there are different departments, and all departments strive to move towards the same direction. Third thing is that there should be no overlapping, like we talked about in the principle of unity of direction. So at one time, when you are planned for, your objectives are ready, your goals are prepared, you've already thought in advance what is to be done, you're moving in the right direction. It is said that in an organization, if there are people and they do not have direction, they will just move in wayward manner. Why? Because they do not know where they are going. So planning में से अगर direction निकाल दें तो people will not be coordinated, because if there are 4 departments in an organization, production, finance, HR, marketing and sales, और सबको काम के लिए target या objective या goal या direction नहीं दिया जाएगा तो वो directionless हो जाएंगे. If I leave you in a center of a place and do not give you a compass, or you do not have a GPS and you have no notion where you're standing, you would never know which direction you want to move to and where would the real target be. So planning provides direction for action by stating in advance how the work is to be done. So how the work is to be done, you have to decide that. It ensures goals and objectives are clearly stated. सारा कुछ लिखा होना चाहिए. Goals act as guide. Of course, yes, उसी की तरफ आपने move करना है. Planning में से अगर direction minus कर दें तो employees कहाँ काम करेंगे? In different areas, and there will be no coordination. Of course, सारे departments अलग अलग area में काम करेंगे, overlapping हो जाएगी. Planning reduces risk of uncertainty. This is your next point. Planning enables managers to look ahead and anticipate changes by deciding in advance tasks to be performed. Like, see, we know that we are talking about risk, reduces risk of uncertainty. Risk cannot be eliminated. You cannot just simply ward off the risk and say, oh, my business is planned for, I won't face any kind of risk. Unforeseen events, unforeseen contingencies may happen anytime. Managers have to use their insight, they have to use their brains, they have to be ready, anticipate changes, predict changes, they have to face the real environment, and that is only possible once they are planned for. So how planning enables managers to look ahead to anticipate changes? By deciding in advance tasks to be performed. So once you're deciding in advance, that means you are planned for. Planning shows ways to deal with changes in or uncertain events or uncertain events. Changes cannot be eliminated, risk cannot be eliminated. Best managers can understand the changes, anticipate them, and can respond according to them. I said they have to use their useful insight, they have to use their response to it, they have to be ready with the changes, they have to eliminate them. You cannot eliminate all uncertainties 100%, but yes, you can overcome once you are properly planned for. Next, planning reduces overlapping and wasteful activities. Like we did about planning provides direction, similarly planning reduces overlapping and wasteful activities. Why? Once you're planned, you know which direction you have to move in. Once you're ready with the direction where you have to move in, then two people do not perform the same kind of task and there is no overlapping, resources are not wasted. Organizations have many departments, division and individuals. Planning provides basis for coordination. Right? Why it provides basis for coordination? Because you move in the right direction. Helps to avoid confusion and misunderstanding. Right? Why? Because two people do not perform the same task. It brings clarity, work becomes smooth, it becomes easy to find mistakes and take corrective measure. That is only possible once you are planned for, because you know you have to move or strive towards the same objective. Last, planning promotes innovative ideas. Yes, planning promotes innovative ideas. Why? Because you plan and suppose that the plan doesn't become successful. So you try to make changes, you make amendments and you replan, you put in some extra efforts, you put in some creativity and you try to overcome the risk of uncertainty. So the moment you plan and the moment you replan, you're bringing in your creativity, you're bringing in your innovative ideas, because the intention is very pure to achieve the objective. And how you're supposed to achieve those objectives? By being planned for in advance. So planning is the first function of management, helps to develop new ideas. Plans then become concrete, ठोस जाते हैं, पक्के बन जाते हैं. Innovation is most challenging activity, because your innovation is successful or not, that depends upon once it becomes the reality. So it guides managers for all future action, leads to growth and prosperity. Yes, innovative ideas are always better for the organization, because they lead to better opportunities for the organization. I hope you followed the features as well as importance of planning. We'll be taking up the next topic, limitations and types of plans, in the next video. Thank you. Have a nice day.